Hello everyone, Jay here, and we're back here on the OverMangaCast. Remember the time we woke up in a podcast and had to explain manga, our repeated adventures over-analyzing manga we find interesting. And this week on the podcast, we're reading My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom! So get ready for some Otome game weirdness, and let's get ready to rumble!
I think you should start it off, Jay.
Alright, so this is my first exposure to My Next Life as a Villainess. But I would say since this focuses mostly on the otome genre at large, I am not brand new, so I'm familiar with the reverse harem concept very, very well. But yeah, this was a first read through for me.
All right, I'll go next. My experience with this title basically boils down to Jake watched the anime and told me about the dumbest puppy, and that's about it. So that was the expectations I went in with, and I'd say they were met.
And then I guess then we can go to me. And as mentioned, my experience with it is I watched all of the season that's out of the anime. I saw a YouTube video that was talking about it. I didn't think I'd ever watch it, so I started watching it, and about halfway through, I'm like, screw it, I'm just gonna watch this, and I binged the series in 2 days. It's relatively short, but so I was really looking forward to this. This is just so much fun.
And yeah, Matt here. My experience with this is pretty much just Otome fangirls telling me it was a good series, which not a strong recommendation, but hey, I read it.
It's a parody in of itself.
Yeah, Jay, you mentioned that you've got experience with the Otome, universe.
Mm-hmm.
I do not. So even in that, this was a new front for me to explore. And I mean, I've watched harems before. I usually only get about a couple episodes into them because I can't stand the fact that the protags are dense as neutron stars.
Yeah.
But it actually worked this time.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, obviously it's a very targeted market.
I recall a long time ago, just because I was trying to expand my anime and manga collection, I tried to read Ouran High School Host Club.
Mm-hmm.
I did not get very far in that because that is not the target. I am not the target demographic.
Yeah, and that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly okay. I mean, you can kind of absorb the plot and any major characters through osmosis being part of the manga and anime community. I mean, it happens, but it's definitely a very targeted series.
Genre. Yeah. Though that's actually one of the things about Villainess is that it kind of breaks out of that. Like, it's as much harem comedy as it is like
An isekai.
It's an isekai, it's a harem comedy, and it's an otome series all at the same time. And it's able to blend that in such a way that if any of those grab you, you're almost surely going to like this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of what allowed me to watch it, because I'm isekai trash. So I appreciated that aspect of it. We should at least state the premise being our main character, Katarina.
Her actual name is never revealed. She just is the character, Katarina.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because she's Otome game trash.
Exactly. One day she clonked herself on the head hard enough to jar her past life memories free. Didn't know that was how that worked. But she recalled that she was once upon a time a regular Japanese high school girl who was into otome games, and then got a visit from every isekai watcher's favorite character, Truck-kun, and became Katarina Claes in reincarnated reincarnated into the Otome game she had just been playing.
Except instead of going into that world as herself or as the main character, as most isekais do, the title "My Next Life as a Villainess: All Routes Lead to Doom," she was isekai'd into the life of the like primary antagonist of Fortune Lover, the Otome game.
It's kind of a twist. It's usually you would be, if you know, in this type of scenario, you would have been like spirited in as the heroine, as the protagonist. This time she's actually, spirited in as the antagonist, as the villain, which is kind of like, oh, it's interesting to see that different perspective. It's huge.
A lot over the course of like how characters interact with each other as well. A lot of the comedy works because, and actually also a lot of the like denseness as well of Katarina actually plays into the idea that she's the villain.
And when he says dense, he does not mean, this deep character. He means literally dense.
She's so dumb.
I can summarize how dense this girl is because basically upon knocking her head and realizing, oh, I know how her plot plays out, which is basically in every ending of the game, Katarina is either exiled from the country or killed, and she doesn't want to die young again. She wants to live to a ripe old age, but her immediate plan is, well, I'm going to do what any isekai protagonist does. I am going to say I'm going to work really hard because I know the secret, and I'm going to use my hard work to excel in magic, to excel in sword fighting, to live my best life, to avoid all these negative ends. And her first plan to avoid dying is the Villainess in the game has really... everyone in this universe has magic of different elements. Hers is earth magic, the most common, and of magic, hers
I think
is
magic
also
is actually pretty rare.
But they're nobles.
It doesn't matter that much, but
it's common among the nobles.
Yeah, it's very common among the nobles.
It's also, I would insert that perhaps magic itself may be rare among the population, but the concept of magic is well known throughout the realm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, just a little heads up, all the characters we interact with have magic.
Right.
So from the audience point of view,
from the audience,
everyone has magic.
Mm-hmm.
And of which Katarina has really bad magic in that she has earth magic that in the game was only able to cause a little tiny dirt clod to pop up and trip people. So her plan is to train herself to be really good. And she decides to do that by starting to farm, because she remembers her grandma in her past life saying that the best way to get in touch with the earth is to farm. And she proceeds to only do that and never ever changes that initial opinion, despite the fact it never actually works.
And the fact that she mentions that she's going to get a tutor, like not just, for swordplay, but also she's also like, she's going to get put everything in place, tutor. The magic tutor and everything. So obviously you're going to have some professional advice to guide you forward. Nope.
Yes. But despite that professional advice and everybody else telling her that's not how it works, she still does it.
I mean, she likes it. It's fun.
You don't understand. It's not appropriate given her station in life. That's the thing. That's the one.
That's for commoners. She's a noble. She's a duke's daughter.
That's the one point that just is such a thorn in the side, just going throughout this entire reading is just so painful. I'm like, you're not even trying to assume the role that you were put in. Yes, you were keeping you keep an eye on those flags, but you got to assume the role at some point, because you're going to freak people out of, like she does, of like, what happened to my daughter? Because obviously she's had 8 years theoretically where she was normal.
She is not smart enough to fake it. There's no way she would ever be able to. Though this is sort of interesting because keep that thread in mind with like stuff like the farming, the magic, the ways that she tries to avoid the destruction flags, because I'm going to make a pretty extreme statement that's going to get laughed off the table until we get to a certain point. So I'm gonna save that for later, but keep in the back of your mind like the idea that like, you know, she wants to get good at magic, so she looks it up herself. Oh, you interact with the earth, and her first thought is farming, which honestly isn't that bad a train of thought. But then once people who know what to do tell her, no, that's not what you do, she's like, yeah, but it's fun, so I'm gonna keep doing it anyway.
Yeah.
To the detriment of the reason she actually started doing it in the first place, but you know.
Yeah. Something that I noticed is the way that this series was made was it started off as a light novel, it then became an anime, and it then became a manga after that. And one of the things that I noticed was they cut a lot of stuff from the anime.
Yeah, welcome to mangas.
Well, usually the anime cut stuff because the manga came first.
Yeah, it's usually the inverse.
But one of the things that they cut is, in my opinion, the absolute dumbest thing Katarina ever did, and is how I describe her level of stupidity. They were in a temple as a test for their magic school stuff, which happens later. And they were explicitly told that there were traps all through this temple. They're walking through, they haven't encountered any traps yet, and there is a little red button. It's bright red on the stone floor. Katarina sees this bright red button in the temple where she was explicitly told that there would be booby traps in. She gets down on her hands and knees. Ooh, what's this? And pushes the button and activates the booby trap in the temple that she was explicitly told there were booby traps in. And that is the core of Katarina Clay's character.
Yeah, she's a dummy.
So she's like Dee Dee from Dexter's Lab.
Basically.
Dee Dee has redeeming qualities. Anyway, let's go through the side characters who are really the only reason to read this, and I think we've skipped over a few of them at this point because the very first one introduced is the reason she regains her memories is Prince Gerald. His name
changes a lot.
It's spelled a couple different ways. I checked the wiki and it's Gerald.
It's very Romanized Japanese. Like
yeah.
Okay, but regardless, he is the prince who was engaged to Katarina in the official Otome game, and is basically what happens is he tripped her by accident for some reason it's not really gone into. She falls down and has a small scar on her forehead, which has marked her as damaged goods. And in order to repay the debt he's caused, he proposes to her when they're both the age of 7. And people are super happy because he's third son, but also seems to have a very strong claim to the throne. In addition to being the third son, I'm not sure that's gone into super well, but politics, that's definitely not this series' strong point. Yeah.
Though one really important factor, which is basically the crux of the story, is the way it happens in the Otome game is not the same way as what we see, because it's all of the Otome, the up to the point where Katarina gets her memories of her past life back. That is the original Katarina living that life, and then she hits her head. The way that it's framed is maybe Gerald tripped her accidentally, but it was probably because she was trying to schmooze him and trying to get on his good side because, Prince claimed to the throne. And she basically tripped over her own feet and smashed her head. In the Otome game, very specifically, Katarina demanded that Gerald, air quotes, take responsibility for something that was probably her own fault, but maybe also kind of his. So he grudgingly accepted that. But in the version where we see our Katarina interacting, she's freaking out about the whole isekai thing just for a start, but also she's so freaking nice that Gerald actually feels bad, and he earnestly proposes for her sake, because after hitting her head, suddenly she seems like a totally different person. Oh no, she really got her. And she is, but the biggest thing that Katarina does not understand, even more so, there's a lot of things Katarina doesn't understand because, as established, she's really stupid. But the biggest thing that she doesn't understand is that everything that she is concerned about and building against is based off of the fact that the character she has inhabited the life of now was an absolutely terrible person. And the reason why all those destruction flags happened to that Katarina is because she will always bring destruction upon herself because she's an awful person.
Mm-hmm.
Our Katarina is a sweet, dumb puppy who no one could possibly hate no matter what she did. And all of the things she's concerned about only happen if she,
isn't herself. So.
But like, that's the thing though. She does pick up on that because as young Katarina, which I guess is still old Katarina, but she goes to go like, oh, well, Prince Gerald in the Otome game was an evil prince who's going to backstab me. I better be nice to him and tell him he's always free to leave the relationship if he wants. Or we get introduced to her adopted brother who, if I remember correctly, is kind of just thrown into the story. So there's not really a lead up to that, but he's adopted by the family because he has very strong. Oh, I remember the reason why they adopted him, because Katarina got engaged. So they need a male heir, which kind of just leads me to believe, wouldn't they have always needed a male heir? That's kind of...
Well, the issue is that she's marrying to a prince. It's not stated, but implied that if she married, say, another equal status noble, that she wouldn't necessarily have been plucked out, as severely. I mean,
regardless,
politics. It's European aristocracy politics.
But the reason why Keith is adopted is they go into a little bit. He is a distant relative. However, his earth magic is so strong but uncontrolled that essentially he became a danger. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, he is also an illegitimate child by the relative.
Keith is a bastard.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's adopted for the fact that he would be able to carry on their family name, the Clace name, and also he has prominent magic, which Katarina has not exhibited. So 2 for 1.
This is actually another place where I, as an anime watcher, start feeling cuts, because they go into more detail of why the incident where Keith hurt his biological brothers. Like, one of the things that they make pretty clear in the anime, because they have more time to dedicate to this stuff, like, it's European aristocracy. Most of them are awful people, and Keith is a bastard. They don't like him. They don't respect him. They bully him all the time. And they were chucking rocks at a bird's nest. And Keith was defending the bird when they turned on him instead. And, it sort of establishes Keith as the sort of meek, kind, protective sort. And then, he, in self-defense, just basically lashed out with magic and nearly killed 4 people.
And but the thing is, basically what we get from Katarina is that in the Otome game, Keith feels isolated from everybody. So he focuses on, he's afraid of his power. And Katarina, the first thing she says is, hey, I'm going to get a magic tutor. You want to come to my magic tutor with me? Doing magic's cool. And Keith's just like, no, that's bad. I hurt people. And Katarina's just like, no, that's dumb.
Let's go back to the first thing, too. The fact when he's first introduced, her father goes into all this detail of so Keith is joining the family. He's going to be your new brother. So be nice, show him around. And then it's implied while she's still reacting to, she knows about this route. She knows how it's going to end. Oh, I have to quickly think about how I'm going to react to this so I can avoid my certain doom. Meanwhile, her father is explaining to her, why she needs to be careful. I mean, obviously, he's your new brother and I want you to be nice to him. But he has some pretty strong earth powers and he's not quite capable of controlling them. So, be careful, try not to provoke him. And while he's explaining all of this in detail, she's completely zoned out, totally preoccupied with how she's going to, be successful in avoiding
her doom in this route.
Because we established the main thing about Katarina is she never listens when other people talk at all. She is the Otome game player that mashes X until she gets.
Yes.
0 for our non-localized folks. Or sorry.
And she it probably is, her father explaining, so just be nice to him, don't cause him any sort of stress because we're working on controlling his magic. And she immediately goes, I always wanted a cute little brother, you're gonna be my best friend, come on. And just starts flipping out.
And one of the sort of through lines of this whole situation, Katarina doesn't understand the effect that she has on people, in part because she doesn't realize she's in the world of the Otome game, but they're real people now. And Keith and Gerald, the way she interacts with them changes who they are from the characters she knows in the game. One thing that's made super clear in Katarina's internal monologues, which are absolutely hilarious because it's framed as a council of Katarinas that's being broadcasted C-SPAN style, and it's never not funny because they're all so dumb.
And I love the fact that each of them, it has a different outfit on because they're clearly supposed to represent different points of view. But because this is Katarina and she is so incredibly self-centered, all of these different points of view have the same stupid Katarina brain of let's just keep charming, even though they shouldn't. They should have different points of view.
Katarina views the characters as being static in her world instead of as dynamic as individual people, as she is. And that's really what continues to be to her detriment.
And
those are her 5 brain cells. And
all 5 of them.
Each one is, well, they all sit around the table and they never interact. So clearly they ain't rubbing together. There's no sparks. Drinking game. Take a drink every time I come up with a new way to describe how freaking dumb she is.
No, we want our listeners to live. But yeah, one thing that she makes clear in her internal monologue is in the Otome game, Gerald is a duplicitous, sadistic, black-hearted bastard. But
no,
you ever think, Katarina, that old you made him that way?
But the problem is in the version of this universe where it's the Otome game, Katarina forced Gerald to maintain the engagement, which was also somewhat beneficial to him because he hideously outranks her, one of the few people who does. So if he really wanted out, he could get out. But she's pressing the issue for her own sake. And that made him hate her. And because one of the very few people he regularly interacts with, because he's Prince and people usually only ever talk to him because they want something from him. It made him duplicitous. It made him two-faced. It made him black-hearted. Whereas this version of Katarina, there's no artifice to her. She's just simply herself. It's the reason she's so unbelievably charming. And she is ridiculously bizarre because she's so dumb and just comes to these random, logical leaps that don't make any sense. And it makes his life interesting. So Gerald isn't the Gerald from the Otome game. He's basically a completely different person. He still has a little bit of the two-face, is still a little bit of a manipulator, but he's happy and honestly a good person. And then Keith, his issue was because the Katarina from the Otome game was a terrible person, she bullied him. That was the only family that he really had because the parents were off doing noble things. And that made him isolated, so he became a playboy, and that was his defining character trait in the Otome game. But Katarina won't leave him alone to the point where when he tries to lock himself in his room for guilt for Katarina hurting herself with his magic because it's Katarina.
She takes an axe to the door.
She literally axes the door down to drag him out of his shell, literally kicking and screaming.
So, I'll interject here. there is not a selfless attitude to that. She is very much freaking out if he locks
She's
himself in
very
his
much
door.
trying to save her own skin because she knows what lies at the other end. She's like, I can't let him get so withdrawn that I end up dead and exiled.
And
True.
Like that's her
true.
motivating factor for the majority of this. She does not want to be killed. We go over various scenarios, all routes leading to her doom. Either she dies or she's exiled, and if she can't support herself, which being raised as a noble, she wouldn't be able to in a functional capacity, she essentially would have no choice. So she's almost clinging to this idea of, I have to make myself survive. It's very much survival for her.
That said, though, there are a lot of cases where she goes out of her way to be nice, even if she's not planning it. And I think that very much is the real Katarina, because when she's doing the destruction flag stuff, she's trying to think. And that's not Katarina's strong suit. Whereas when she's just like interacting with everyone as friends, like she doesn't want to get killed in the Keith route, but she also wants to dote on a little brother. It's something that she always wanted.
Yeah, she mentioned she always wanted a little brother. And I feel like almost as if she didn't overthink things, she wouldn't be as drastic. I guess what I'm trying to get across is if she didn't think about it so hard, she would have found a more reasonable way to kind of draw him out than perhaps axing the door and dragging him out. She probably would have, talked to him and smooshed him out of the door, and they would have carried on, as brother and sister in a healthy relationship, as opposed to being such a jarring, like, no, I'm going to, pull you out of your room by force. If necessary, you will be my little brother kind of thing. If she were just more genuine and true to herself instead of being panicking up first and then kind of falling back into, this is my true self, and I really just wanted a little brother and someone to really, dote on. I feel like, there was just a lot of,
that's the thing about Katarina. When she tries to be duplicitous, when she tries to be selfish, it goes terribly wrong because she's not a thinker. And there are a lot of moments where Katarina's best moments are when she's not thinking about, because, at the same time, when she axes the door down, like the destruction flag stuff is always in the back. Actually, no, the destruction flag stuff is always in the forefront of her mind. But like the reason
in the back.
That's true. Part of the reason she freaks out is because what happened that caused Keith to shut himself in his room was entirely her fault. And she knows, because of what other people said, what Keith said, and because of what little understanding she does have of the situation, she knows Keith is blaming himself. And even more so than, I don't want him to get isolated and then be the playboy and then the destruction route, she doesn't want Keith to blame himself. Like, she has this excuse in a sense of, I've got to avoid the destruction flags. But like, she really genuinely isn't a bad person. When she tries to play to type is when she's at her worst. And, the axe to the door thing is sort of like a combination of both, where it's like she will, onto violence to a piece of wood, not let the destruction flag happen, but she's also just sort of acting because what she does once she axes the door down is deeply, sincerely, and genuinely apologizes for doing something so stupid that got herself hurt and that he was blaming himself for it.
So yeah, that is that is our introduction to the first two side characters.
I know, right?
The first two capture
harem.
Yes. And all of the boys are the original romanceable targets in the Otome game. But this is a this is
not the original Otome game.
This is not the original Otome game, and this is a harem manga, so we need more.
Yes, we need more.
In the next chapter, we are introduced to best girl Mary.
Mary.
Because so Katarina gets invited to her first tea party as a I believe there's a mild time skip here. I think she gets 2 years older or something. She's still
Something like that,
young
yeah.
girl
Still-
Katarina.
yeah, she's still a little kid. And her poor isekai mom. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness, this poor
Oh
woman.
man, how mean is my mother for expecting me to do the bare minimum of being a noble lady? Like,
basically, her father, says, "I got this invitation for a tea party, and I think Katarina, she's old enough and she's obviously a noble, she should attend." And mom immediately speaks up at dinner and says, "No, she is not ready. She's not ready for this at all."
She isn't.
And to drive this point home, Katarina proving that instead of just an isekai protagonist, she's actually a shonen protagonist because she is shoveling food into her face with
She
her
loves
hands.
food. Loves the food.
well, no, she explicitly loves sweets,
Yeah.
which is
Yes.
very Otome game protagonist. Oh, look at all the delicious sweets. Although she shovels food into her mouth so quickly until she like has to excuse herself to the bathroom to just take a fat dump. Like this girl eats until the point she is bursting full and then immediately evacuates. Like,
Yeah, I'm just like, at that point, do you actually enjoy the sweets or you just love stuffing yourself? Like,
The answer is yes.
And like mentioning shonen protags, one of the things that I love about Katarina is how low-key terrifying she is as a fighter, because she's actually a good sword fighter as far as we tell. She doesn't really ever use it.
But,
I was about
like,
to
we
say,
know
the
she's
manga
trained-
gives me no indication.
Well, we
Her
know
Yeah,
she,
the manga
tells her
doesn't-
that
the
she's
manga
getting
doesn't-
better.
we know she trains consistently.
yeah, but in the
Or-
manga, it's
better
never
protected.
demonstrated that she, has any
She never
acuity for.
she directly uses it, but like the tutors aren't her improvement, even though she's a noble. They're going to tell her whether or not she's getting better.
I mean, yeah, but
That's
we also
a lot to infer from a manga. I mean, it never
like
goes.
she's also said she's trained magic through a tutor, but
But the
also
tutor
did a whole
also
bunch of farming.
Yeah, but the tutor tells her that she's not getting better, and she can see that. The point I'm making here is she's a skilled sword fighter. She's very good at throwing small projectiles that we'll get to a little bit later, which could easily be like bolas or throwing knives. Earth bump in a high level sword fight is actually really good, because unsetting someone's footing in a bind can end a sword fight instantly. And how can
Hey,
you
you know
predict
what?
what she's going to do next? She doesn't even know.
Hey, you know what else can end a sword fight almost instantly? A fireball to the face. Like, if we're gonna just throw magic in here, other people can do it a lot better.
I'm saying Katarina is actually a really good fighter. It's just she's never in a situation, because it's not a shonen manga. She's never in a situation where she needs to use it. I just love that about her, because like she puts all of her effort into the things that don't matter.
I know, Jakey. I am getting a strong indication you are giving her a lot of benefit of the doubt. I would not. And when we talk about our opinions on the manga, I'm sure we'll have a bit to go into. But let's so the tea party we were at, right?
Right.
Yes.
So she runs away to the bathroom. She assumes all people act like her because she's like, they must have been coming back from the bathroom to go eat more food. She's an idiot. And
really
she
dumb.
runs into Mary, who is a lone girl. She's like the youngest daughter of these 3 siblings, I think. And she's hanging out in the garden.
And like Keith. Oh,
So in the beginning of the chapter, it's actually when Katarina arrives. She and Keith introduce themselves. They introduce themselves to the 3 Hunt children. It's revealed then that I think she asked Keith about the 3 sisters because Mary does not look like the other 2. And then it is revealed that Mary's mother was, the newest marriage, and unfortunately the 2 older step siblings or half siblings, mistreat her, because I'm sure there's some hard feelings about, their father getting remarried and Mary, I don't want to say looking different, essentially. She's also mouseier and just more reserved. So yeah.
Well, currently.
Mm-hmm. when we're first introduced to her, she's like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe this is the first time we get introduced to Katarina's isekai superpower, which is being able to remember the exact things that cause people to fall in love with them, which is weird because, Jay, maybe you can answer this. Do you normally get fully detailed backstories of all the antagonists in Otome games? Because it seems like she knows exactly how everyone has always met, even though from the point of view of the protagonist, that makes no sense.
Yeah, no, not unless you get the fan guides and do some pretty extensive reading, which, I mean, the information is out there. That is just a level beyond me.
Mm-hmm. And it should be noted that Mary is another one of the rival characters being betrothed to Gerald's brother.
Not yet.
Not yet, but she will be once the plot kicks in. Plot such as
in the Otome future.
So Katarina and Mary, after Katarina is rushing back from the restroom, she notices she runs into Mary out on the patio and notices she's taking care of some flowers. And she's like, wow, I also, like am interested in agricultural, activities. And she compliments her, and Mary all shyly says, wow, thank you. No one really notices, and, it's kind of embarrassing. And she's like, no, you're wonderful. I would really appreciate your advice, your help with my garden. And, from then on, they make they make the decision for Mary to come over and visit Katarina. And, give her some advice for her vegetable garden that she's growing. It is then when Mary, helps her, and Katarina's very satisfied with the result, that she says, Mary, you know what? You are really good at this. You definitely have a green thumb. And when Mary looks at her like, what? And Katarina elaborates and says, well, that's what they call people who are very good at, growing plants and stuff. And Mary's like, huh, interesting. And then later on, they obviously become fast friends and bond over this experience. But later on, Katarina's reflecting on the day and then realizes how she messed up.
Because the green thumbs line is supposed to be Alan's line. And it's part of how in the Otome game future that Mary ended up falling for him. As Matt alluded to, Katarina remembers the exact scenarios that cause these love flags to go off, but she just subconsciously performs them and then only remembers them later and thinks, crap, I messed up the timeline again, but never actually latches on to the fact that she messed up the timeline.
And she never follows the train of logic. If you keep stealing the romance flags from all of these characters and are doing them yourself, what is the logical conclusion to that?
You create the love flags for yourself. I'm just saying, you triggered it.
This girl is so dumb.
Yes.
So dumb.
Anyway, so basically, she falls in love. Chapter ends. Next chapter, Gerald comes over, and he has his brother Alan with him this time.
Alan confronts Katarina.
I love this scene.
Because she's seducing everybody.
Yeah.
Particularly Mary.
He's like,
and Alan
he demands that she stop seducing his fiance. And Katarina, as she is wont to do, has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah. So essentially, Katarina says, hey, I know we'll settle this. Why don't we have a competition? Naturally. And so she picks something that she knows she can't beat him in sword fighting or anything. Yeah, so she decides, hey, what's something I'm really good at? I know, tree climbing, which Alan completely sucks at, obviously, because he's a noble. He's never done it before. So, yeah, Katarina proceeds repeatedly to kick his butt. I don't know how many times she's done this, but apparently it's like 3 or 4 times or whatever that they've tried climbing trees.
He comes over like weekly to
Every day.
challenge her again, and assumedly they have like multiple competitions a day because it looked like they kept climbing trees until nighttime. So,
and all this time, Keith is running interference on
their mom,
on Madame Clace in order to not have her realize, what is my idiot daughter doing this time? She's climbing trees with the prince. What?
Unfortunately, what he couldn't run interference on was Gerald seeing his brother hanging out with his fiance. And all we know is Gerald hates Alan because he's better at him than everything, and Gerald is.
It's Alan hates Gerald because they're twins, and everyone always compares Alan unfavorably to Gerald.
It's the twinning dilemma.
Yeah, I'm also sure Gerald doesn't encourage that comparison at all.
Yeah, definitely not.
The way that Alan is in the Otome game is he has a pretty severe inferiority complex. Like that's sort of like the Otome game route that you have to deal with as the main character. And the way that ends up getting resolved, because it's shown very much why Gerald and Alan don't have a particularly good relationship, because Gerald is perfectly fine to turn the screws just to get Alan to go away. And so Katarina suggests another thing that they could compete in, since Alan's not having luck with the tree climbing, and they have a competition with music instead.
Which Katarina bungles, but apparently Alan very skilled with the piano.
I don't know that she bungles it. She's just not unusually talented at it.
I would assume anything Katarina is not claimed to be exceptionally talented in, she's not very good at, because that is what the manga has told me. If she is not an expert in something, she is hopeless at it.
Yes.
I guess this is another case for me with the anime, because like her thing with her piece with the piano was like fine but unimpressive. So I guess that's the anime coming in again.
Either way,
it could also just be she did fine for an 8-year-old. Like,
Would it be a far-fetched to infer from her supposedly noble upbringing? I mean, she is in a noble realm now, and though the original main character did not have a noble upbringing, she is being raised in this Otome game world as a noble. So would it be too far of a stretch to infer that she would have been given piano lessons?
I'm going to be honest, how this is written, I think if they wanted to say it, they would say, oh yeah, I remember my mom in Japan gave me piano lessons, and I remembered that over 7 years, beyond saying I actually learned anything in this game I'm in, because she actively seems to never learn anything that isn't directly related to the 3 things she wants to focus on.
Well, Alan handily wins the piano competition, but because the inferiority complex has already begun, and when you have an inferiority complex, you can never accept that you've won anything. And so he thinks that all the praise that they're heaping on him is completely disingenuous, and so he runs off feeling insulted, until Katarina, in her endless peppy persistence, hunts him down, and she decides to actually, brilliant for her, which is not a terribly high bar to cross, she takes a different route, and instead of trying to boost Alan, she tears down Gerald by revealing a weakness.
Not just a weakness, something he's just absolute petrified of.
Yeah, which is
His
done
greatest weakness.
Which is done interestingly, visually.
It's that way in the anime too. It's so
yeah. I posted that one. They decide to pixelate the snake he's afraid of. That ends up looking like exactly what you think a pixelated snake would look like.
A long pixelated thing being gripped in a hand. He was absolutely terrified. I've never seen someone with so much composure break down so completely. But it turns out it was just a snake. And Gerald is actually quite terrified of snakes. So Katarina, in another bout of shocking insight, decides that, all right, so in the Gerald route, the way Katarina dies is Gerald turns on her and attacks her. So I need a secret weapon. I'll make a fake snake to throw at him and startle him so I can win the fight or run away. Either or. And so she decides to reveal this secret weapon to Alan and throw the snake at Gerald as a means of demonstration to great effect.
And just, this woman is so dumb. Because from this point in her life where she realizes he's afraid of snakes, she decides it is a worthy expenditure of her time to spend hours a day, for the remainder of her life, practicing throwing a fake snake.
And
And
creating
also
more
creating more
realistic fake
ones.
snakes.
Yeah. She's so dumb. I love her.
Because the one that she had as a kid was just basically a crumpled tube of paper with little eyes on it. She actually makes a pretty realistic facsimile later on.
Needlessly realistic snakes to throw at Jared on the off chance he attacks her. It's not gonna happen.
Just stop.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Alan is my other favorite character next to Mary, because it's at the end of this incident with the snake that he doesn't exactly lose the inferiority complex, but it doesn't become like his defining character trait. And he is funny. He's one of the funniest characters, not in the way that Katarina is. He just is.
He just points out how dumb she is most of the time.
He is the straight man in this comedy pairing, more so than anybody else. Because while everyone else is like dancing around, calling her an idiot most of the time and playing along with what she says, he's like, yes, Duchess of Dunce over here.
Oh yeah, because Alan is the one most likely to call her out on the ridiculous nonsense she's constantly doing.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Speaking of ridiculous nonsense she's constantly doing, her next addiction she gets into is romance novels, which she gets in.
It's the closest thing to shoujo manga that exists in that world, and she's no taco.
And she becomes ridiculously obsessed. Her mom does not like it, but thinks at least it's slightly more ladylike than climbing
It's still
trees.
feminine, but it's like one of those things that's just not proper for, in the public light. But she's like, at least she's acting like a normal girl. She's not climbing trees like some little tomboy.
She's told liking these books is going to ostracize her because it's definitely not proper society. So obviously what Katarina does is loudly asks everyone she can if they like romance novels.
Hey guys, do you guys read porn?
Because she wants a friend to talk about it with. Which is
in her previous life, she had a school friend who would always play the same Otome games, read the same shoujo
trash.
I mean, when I look for smut friends, I just loudly scream down the hallway, "Who here reads smut?"
That it? Any all read rude stuff?
Okay, I can say this with absolute certainty, Jay. You are smarter than Katarina. That's not a high bar to clear, as established.
Thank you.
Well, in this case, her immense idiocy works out because at another tea party, she does indeed find a fellow piece of shoujo trash in another one of the rival characters, one of the future rival characters from the Otome game, Sophia. Who is part of an interesting pair of characters, even if she is the only interesting part, because she is okay.
They're both interesting for very different reasons.
Nico is worst boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
do anything.
Hard agree.
Excuse me, Nicole is the most likely to actually romance her.
Yeah, he just has to look at her. Like, that's the whole joke. Don't know much about him, but he's so charming.
He is.
Nicole is there.
I know he has wind magic because it was listed in his bio.
Yeah, it was listed in his bio. That's the only point where it ever comes up.
But he's the son of the prime minister, and apparently this entire family is just rocking appearance rating 5. They are all banging.
Well, the only issue is Sophia, because of her appearance, she's ostracized because they think she's a demon child.
She's like
she's
albino,
albino.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they mentioned that she's albino, and there is another reason, and this is such clever foreshadowing that I didn't actually realize when I was watching the anime, but reading the manga, I actually realized this is foreshadowing a later plot point. But one of the reasons why Sophia bonds with Katerina is because they both love the romance novels. She's already ostracized for her appearance, so it doesn't matter if she's into something that high society isn't supposed to like. Nobody gives her the time of day anyway.
Mhm.
Yep. But she does kind of freak her out with her wanting to touch her hair repeatedly.
Well, yeah, because Katerina thinks it looks smooth and silky, and
She's like, I want to touch your hair. Can I touch your hair?
I don't think it freaks her out. I think she's just confused at first.
she catches her off guard because she's used to thinking of her hair and eyes as
Disgusting.
yeah. And Katerina's like, no, I think it's cute. And because again, and this wasn't even, her attempting to metagame. This is just her. This is just her.
This is her knee-jerk reaction to, ooh, that's cool.
It's a cool thing.
Because she realizes that on the Nicole route, Katerina, the Otome game character, is an almost completely non-factor. So there aren't any destruction flags for her personally. So it's like, oh, I can just befriend these two and not care because it's not going to mess with anything that's relevant to me. Which, like, that's not how anything works, you dumb puppy.
But as much as I was ragging on Nicole earlier, later on, he and Sophia end up having an interesting dynamic when it comes to Katerina, because as we learned from Katerina's metagame knowledge, Nicole is a syscon, making Sophia the rival character for the protagonist on the Nicole route, which...
Yeah, because we've got that apparently.
Okay. But we learn through their double team maneuver that apparently Sophia is perfectly willing to share with her brother, because she is constantly trying to set up situations in order to make it easier for Nicole to romance Katerina.
Yeah, both of them are trying to set up Katerina for the other one to romance.
Mm-hmm.
And they are completely open with each other about this, which I thought was the funniest part. It's just each of them trying to get her into a love flag situation. Of course, they don't think of it that way, but
yeah,
and just going, go for it, Nichan, or go for it, Onisama.
But yeah, I think at this point we've been introduced to the cast of characters outside of... We've been introduced to the official rivals and capture targets.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which then we have a pretty significant time skip, because I think we just skip over about 6 years, because she goes from however small that a first original time skip was to being 15.
Yeah, she goes from like 9 to being 15.
So I just want to point out, Katerina at this point is a 24-year-old woman
Mentally.
who acts like a 13-year-old child while being 15.
Yes.
She's the best. I love her.
Yes.
Yeah. So on her birthday, obviously, there's a lot of, fraternizing between all the friends. She invites all of her friends. They all, invite her for a dance or whatnot. But, most persistently, Gerald's really trying to get in there now that they're older and everything, and say, well, you mean so much to me, and, I'm not going to let you go.
She keeps framing it from the perspective of the Otome game, where Gerald hates Katerina, but, like, she's not the evil villainous Katerina. She's just herself, and everyone loves her.
Yeah, he's like, that attracts me. And I have the greatest pull here because I'm formally engaged to you. And I'm not going to call off this engagement no matter what.
Yep. Nope.
No matter what.
Which sort of, we get sort of like the character dynamics of Gerald tries to do something saucy, then Keith runs in and
I must protect Ne-san.
I must protect. And then Mary running interference for Alan, because besides Gerald, Mary is the one thirstiest for Katarina, which is hilarious.
Which is why she is best girl. She is gunning for it.
I just love the moment with Keith in this, because Gerald kisses her on the neck, which is a perfectly acceptable thing for a fiance to do at a 15th birthday party. And Keith runs in, wipes the kiss off her neck,
and then says, I was just wiping off a bug.
Yeah.
It was a bug.
How dare you kiss my sister that I'm not blood related to?
Remember, kids, it doesn't count if you say no chromo.
It doesn't count if you say, hey, stepbro.
What are you doing, stepbro?
Yeah, and then there's an aside where Keith mentions, why is she so dense?
Why is she so stupid? Why does she seduce everybody? I'm getting so many rivals. I don't like it.
Mary is also like really hilarious in how aware of the situation she is. It's like, I can't keep deflecting all of these people. There's too many of them.
Everyone else is aware of the situation, but main character. It's great.
And it's great because the entire night is people wanting to dance with her because they're interested in her. Gerald gets a pass because he's the fiance. He gets to dance with her because duh. And then we get her dodging everyone else up until Mary and Sophia catch her out on the balcony. And she's like, but we're all girls. We can dance with you, right? And she's like, I don't know how to lead. But Mary's like, I learned everything I could possibly ever need to learn to be with you. Oh, you're such a good friend.
Such a good friend. Great friend.
I learned the male part in a dance specifically to dance with you.
Yeah, it gets kind of scary.
Wow, that's so sweet.
We basically wrap them getting ready to go to their magic schools that they do at the age 15, and they all have magic. That's been established in the bios, at least. And
how many powers have we actually observed outside of Keith's Earth Golem and her lumps?
Katarina does her Earth bump on occasion.
They talk about Mary's magic. I don't think we ever see it.
I mean, what element is she even?
She's Earth, but she's
Is she?
She's
Mary's
plant.
not Earth. No.
What is she?
I'm pretty sure she's Wind. Or no. Huh.
It never comes up.
They don't list the girls because they're not capture targets, so she doesn't know. And obviously asking people is outside what she's capable of.
But like we see Gerald with flames in his hand on a couple of occasions.
I think that's his bio portrait.
No, he actually uses his flame to light the way in a dark tunnel at one point.
So in the anime.
No, in this is skipping to a later arc, but when they're going down the stairs
in order
to that confrontation, he's lighting the way with his fire. And then also in the temple where where Dumbest Puppy's dumbest moment happens, he does that there as well. And we do actually see a little bit more magic in the anime. I think Sophia is Wind.
Wind, the second rarest, so that would make sense why super aristocrats both have wind magic. Regardless, for the manga's point of view at least, for going to a magical academy, we see barely any of it, if at all.
Yeah, because we don't really see any classes. We do know that apparently this school is a meritocracy when it comes to the student council, because only the people with the highest grades and the most powerful magic get in there.
Angry enough.
She's never admitted as a member. She's just a friend of everyone in the student council, so they let her in.
Yeah, she gets a dumb puppy pass, so she gets to sit in a corner and everyone feeds her treats.
Yeah, it's true. She's a puppy.
Because this is an isekai, and isekai are just wish fulfillment. Like, there's no conflict. She just gets what she wants.
It's also a harem, which is wish fulfillment.
It's wish fulfillment on wish fulfillment.
So this is where we meet the heroine of the Otome game, Maria Campbell. She is wielder of the most powerful and rare kind of magic, light magic, which
because of course
happens. I guess that is a thing that she has. She's also a commoner.
Filthy commoner.
How dare commoners come to my royal school that also allows commoners and is a meritocracy?
Yes. Well, a lot of the nobles rag on her and bully her, but Katarina,
being logical, and I love this moment. South.
she steps in order to beat back bullies whenever she sees them. I say beat back, but she really just
glares at them.
She's got like a +10 in intimidation because, as she puts it, her face has a villainous cast to it. So she just flexes that by hitting him with the fat intimidate roll and sending them all running to the wind. She rapidly becomes friends with Maria, mainly because Maria makes homemade sweets that are really tasty.
And she's also really cute and nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
two of the
blonde.
mandatory requirements.
Yes.
Gotta make good sweets, and you gotta be cute.
And like, I think in like rapid succession, within like the course days, she steals the romance flags from all 3 of the male capture targets and does them to Maria herself. She steals Gerald's finding her climbing a tree. She steals Keith being nice to
Giving
her
her
and
a
like
handkerchief or something like that. Or
then-
she alters it, because that still happens, but it happens differently because Keith is a completely different person. She full on steals a moment later when one of the defending Maria from bullies was a Keith moment. And it's sort of funny because like the nickel route never comes up because that's the one she never played, because she hadn't actually finished Fortune Lover yet.
they go into that where it's like she never finished Fortune Lover, but like when the very first scene, it's like she only got to go through like the first route, I thought was what she said initially. But then I think they said no, she did multiple routes, and what they meant was she didn't finish the game, which is do all the routes.
So, okay, and again, I don't know if the anime is clearer about this, but she basically finished 3 of the routes. A lot of times when she's saying, I've only gotten so far in the game, they're in flashbacks when she's talking to her friend who had completed the game entirely, and a bunch of the stuff that she knows is from her friend Achan having an encyclopedic knowledge of Fortune Lovers and
spoiling
dropping
everything.
a bunch of spoilers.
Yeah, her friend does a lot of spoilers on her. Yeah.
But also, her friend just tells her everything about the game, so all of her information is hand going into this universe that is not identical to the game. So she is working off isekai knowledge that is both faulty, dated, and worthless. Because it never clicks anything until the event has either happening concurrently or already passed.
I gotta say, my poor boy Keith, he tries so hard, but
But with Katarina's questioning, because periodically,
she's trying to figure out because again, she doesn't realize that she's gone and mucked every single route up, so none of them are going to happen the way they do in the game. But she keeps trying to ply Maria and her friends for information, trying to figure out what route she's existing in right now.
Yeah, she's like, so are you crushing on anyone? Who do you like? No.
She keeps asking Maria if there's anyone that she likes, like romantically, and Maria always responds with, "Well, I'm quite fond of you, Lady Katarina."
Maria straight up answers her, "It's you, dummy. I like you." And she's like, "I wanted to talk about which boy you like," because Katarina is very heteronormative.
Which is hilarious because she's very clearly not straight herself.
And like, well, I don't know, because there's a point later on where like Maria does something super cute and Katarina says, if I was a man, I'd ask her to be my wife. Yes, she would like that, even if you did that right the f- now.
But about Keith is the fact that, in the previous route, Keith was known as being a playboy because he was acting out, obviously, from being, just guarded
He
by
wanted attention.
Yeah, he wanted attention. While she, poses that question, hey, Keith, do you have a crush on anyone? And he freaks out, is like, what do you mean? Crush? He's mean, like, are you, like, interested in any of these ladies?
Are you hitting on Maria? Are you? It's like, what is hitting
And
on
he
mean?
basically just has like a freaking heart attack right then and there. He's just like, I would never.
He doesn't know what hitting on means, and she says, "Oh, asking her to do lewd things with you." What?
He just like freaks. Oh my god!
And in this, he's a proper noble gentleman.
He's a sensible gentleman, and you're just like, what?
Non sequitur. I think I just realized why magic is never brought up at this magic school, because it's not for that. It's so the nobles can get all of their children hooked up with each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they also say at some point, it is very weird to graduate without being engaged to someone, which explains why they never go to class and they're constantly just doing dating activities. I understand that. I realize now this is isekai harem trash.
Wow, you are late to this party.
Did we go over my favorite bit where Katarina is defending Maria from the bullies because she baked a whole thing of muffins?
Yeah. That was the initial defense.
But my favorite part is before she can even realize she solved the thing, she was like, "Oh, I hope Maria's ooh, muffins." Proceeds to just pull a dad from Dexter's laboratory, eats all of the muffins.
Those muffins are for the whole council, man.
Does not care they are on the ground, does not care they are covered in grass, does not care there was a pack of them.
Oh, she did that before at the tea party too, with all this with snacks. If they fell on the ground, she was like 5-second ruling, if she was lucky.
And Maria just goes, Did you just eat all of the muffins? And she's like, oh no, she hates me now, but because she's an isekai protagonist. Wow, eating all the muffins is so cute. I think I love you more. All of your actions don't have negative consequences. Yay!
So, in case any of you were wondering what Matt's opinion of the isekai genre is, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, I think that's the perfect ending point because all we've had is all these like little cute interaction cutscenes. I think we go through the first 3 days of school, or maybe the first week, and
some nondescript amount of time,
and then it's summer break. I don't think she's learned anything. Her grades are bad.
No, her grades are average because everyone helps her, which put a pin in that.
But yeah, basically summer break starts. And
this is also where huge swaths of the anime get slashed out of it to the point where I started noticing it was causing problems because like they take away basically Maria's entire backstory. They put it in later, but like they removed Maria's entire backstory from the place where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, which was confusing me for a bit because Katarina apparently has become quite the hobbyist agricultural enthusiast and wants to go visit some commoners' fields in order to learn more about the fine art of farming. Yeah, don't let mom find out.
She's in disguise. She put on rimless glasses, and that's literally it.
Yeah.
Well, no, she also a much like more mundane dress because she's not a noble. She is a merchant, a pitiful lower class.
Yes. But as they are, as she and Keith are riding back from their tour of a farm, which apparently the farmer was just fine with. It's like, oh yeah, you want to learn more? Sure, follow me. They pass by a small village, and Keith was like, "Hey, wait a minute, isn't that where Maria lives? Maria lives there. Let's go say hi." And as Jake pointed out, this is where we're supposed to get a bit of Maria's backstory, or at least that's where it was in the anime.
Yeah, and that probably would have made that entire section a lot clearer because...
Yeah. I don't know about y'all, but Maria's mom was acting weird, and I interpreted that as, I don't know, I felt like there was some sort of household thing going on.
Huh?
I got that her mom started acting weird right after they said, yeah, she bakes for us all the time. I took that to mean she was assuming her daughter was being like a servant.
Yeah, I kind of felt that way too. I also felt that, once she realized that kind of as soon as they introduced themselves as, oh, you go to school with Maria. Oh, you're those rich, like, noble people. Why are you visiting? What are you on about? This is dubious. Why are nobles interested in my daughter?
Yeah, it's structured so much better in the anime. Basically, the issue with, and like even the stuff that they do keep that they just add later, which I'm going to put it back in the place where it's supposed to go. What ended up happening is Maria and her family were just a normal group of commoners, and then Maria started at the age when you start displaying magic, started displaying light magic. Light magic's super rare, it's super powerful, and because magic is almost exclusively a nobility thing, everyone assumed that Maria's mother had had an affair with a noble. As far as any information that any version of this story is given that I've read, that's not true. The anime is a lot more ambiguous on why the dad leaves.
Well, it's because of the societal pressure that everyone's saying his wife had an affair on, cheated on him. And I mean,
Or he thought that.
yeah, but I mean, even if he didn't think that,
the anime implies that it may have been something else entirely. They don't go that deep into it. They leave a lot ambiguous, that maybe that was the reason, or maybe he had some other reason. They also imply that he's probably dead. They do a lot more to like flesh out Maria's home life beforehand.
I would be interested what the light novel does, because I'm wondering if maybe the anime filled out some scenes as well.
That might also be possible.
usually if you want detail about anything, go to the light novels, because anime, they cut it, and then manga, if it comes after the publication of the anime or the airing of the anime, is cut even more.
Well, what I'm saying is I doubt that the manga is based off the anime. That actually doesn't make a lot of sense. I would imagine the manga is also based off the light novel, because that way they'd be going concurrently.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Basically, the reason why Maria's mom was acting weird is because ever since going to magic school and befriending Katarina, which this is actually an important point for all of the characters in the story, Maria went from being extremely lonely because like none of the kids would play with her anymore because, oh, she must be a bastard child. You know, and the social stigma associated with it, she had completely isolated herself. And the manga more so, I think at some point Maria says like her mom stopped looking at her or something.
Yeah, her mom, overcome with the fact that, she didn't do anything. Maria didn't do anything, but because of Maria, her mother's been ostracized by her village. She's lost her husband. Her life has completely collapsed because of Maria.
It a little bit vilifies her mom, which was not my experience with the anime. But basically, the reason why the baking thing surprised her mom is the three of them, that their family, before all of the light magic stuff happened, all used to bake together. And it was Maria's favorite thing, and she stopped doing it after she was alone. So that's the reason why it weirded her out when they mentioned the baking thing. It's like something is changing in Maria. She doesn't normally act that way. And at first, she's not sure what the intentions of these nobles are, but the anime actually goes into even further detail. Katarina doesn't just show up and bum at Maria's house and eat Maria's food, Maria's mom's food, and then just leave. She makes a point of saying, oh, well, I'll do something for you. I see you have a vegetable garden and I know a little bit about gardening. Let me help you tend that. There's more of they have a fun day, like together, all, doing stuff. And it's like way more even. And that's the point where Maria's mom comes to trust that like Katarina's intentions are pure. She just likes Maria and wants to be friends with Maria. And that's making Maria happy. And one of the big threads of most of the capture targets and rivals is Gerald felt alone. Keith felt alone. Sophia, and to a lesser extent, Nicole felt alone. Alan felt alone. And Maria in particular felt very, very alone. Mary is the only one who really had a meaningful connection, but that's just because she was pining for Alan, which is arguably even more lonely. And the thing that Katarina does for all of them that makes them care about her so much is not just that they love her, but this group of people are all friends with each other. She brought them into basically a family full of love, genuine love for each other. And the reason why they are all so enamored with her is like the haha funny cute isekai moments and harem moments, but also because she's the point of light in their life.
They actually just have friends now,
Mhm.
which none of them really did.
They all have friends that they've all kind of just consigned themselves to sharing a girlfriend with.
Yes.
If you look at Mary and Sophie, those two are hanging out all the time. And there's the comedic tension of everyone wants to get Katarina, air quotes, alone. But they all enjoy each other's company. They like being together.
Especially after the summer break, because the second half of summer break is just fun one-shots of capture targets trying to get Katarina alone, and obviously it's harem shenanigans is what happens with the rest of summer.
To be fair, a lot of the stuff that was cut was shenanigans that aren't that important, but there was also a lot cut from summer break as well relative to the anime.
I'm also going to lead you to believe that the anime probably had a lot of filler for summer break, because that seems like where you would put filler.
That's entirely probable.
Because Jake, I'm not sure how familiar you are with light novels. They don't have as much content as novels, like by a long shot.
Hence the title.
It's kind of in the name.
So, but anyway, when we get back from summer break, after she's had all her little romantic things with George, Keith, well, obviously she doesn't acknowledge they're romantic. Except for Nicole, I suppose. We get back to the thing, and we've established that everyone who's not Katarina, like harem, has their own secret meetings away from Katarina, where they discuss the harem and how to fairly implement the harem. Because they, after summer break, have already given up on like singling her out. They are committed to, well, I guess I'll get Mondays, you can get Tuesdays. Oh, there's 8 of us.
The Simp Council. The Simp Council. I love it. We have the Council of Katarinas in her head, and then we have the Simp Council, the brain trust of the harem.
Dude, Gerald is not playing the Simp Council game. Gerald is like, all you guys play your game.
You don't understand. I'm engaged. So.
He's on the...
I got that stuff on lock.
So this is where we get...
the only conflict.
The closest to a plot that we get, which incidentally is, and I didn't realize this until I got in here, where the anime ends. The anime ends with the dark magic stuff, and I will say,
interesting.
They butchered it. The reason it makes no sense is because they cut like 65% of it.
Here's the thing. I thought the dark magic made a lot of sense. I thought Katarina was a dummy because she had it explained to her very simply 3 times and didn't understand it.
But like the motivation of the actual antagonist is gone into way more. He's not just crazy and random. There is actually a through line to the reason he does the things he does.
I didn't get that he was crazy and random.
Yeah, I didn't either.
He was upset at things. He was lashing out because he feels like something was taken from him.
Because something was.
Yeah, that is also true.
Yeah, this is where in the Otome game we reach the point, which is supposed to be the end point for the Katarina class in the game, where she's revealed to be a horrible person and is either exiled or, I guess, just murdered extrajudicially by a mob.
The versions where she's killed is usually framed as she attacks Maria and then someone, whoever the capture target is,
fights back. All right, yeah.
Defends Maria.
She's killed by accident in Keith's because he can't control his magic. But yeah, otherwise, she's partially... I believe she's actually completely just a bystander in Keith's end, which is part of the reason Katarina freaks out. Because it's like, it's not even like she's being killed because she's a bad person in all of these. They just hate her in the game, which is... The Otome game makes it very clear they do not like Katarina. Like, the creators...
I'm going to complain to the developers.
The developers are so unfair. They should have to experience Katarina's life.
But what happens is we reach the point where Katarina is supposed to be exposed. A group of other girls claim to come forth with evidence of her many terrible crimes, including hideous bullying of one Maria Campbell. And Katarina's just like, but I did everything to avoid this. Why? Why is this happening? And she's so stunned. She's not defending herself because as we see from the Katarina TV broadcast, it has completely short-circuited her smooth brain.
When they say we're here to expose you for her crimes, the first two things she thinks of is it because they saw me throwing the toy snake?
Is it because of me having a private farm on the school's grounds? Because I know no one's happy about that.
So they claim to have all this evidence of the crimes, and strangely enough, everybody else is just nowhere to be found. Where are all the other characters? Where's the other 7? So Katarina is kind of left dangling in the wind here, but thankfully, her entire squadron of white knights all happen to wander into the cafeteria at the same time. An entire freaking round table of white knights here. At which point, they grab up the evidence, take a look at it, and they all collectively, as one, look at the accusers and go, she's too stupid to do this.
All of these accusations are completely absurd. She's not smart enough to do something so devious.
Look us in the eye. Look all of us in the eye, and then look at that vacant look on her face, and tell us you think she has enough brain to do any of this.
Guys, I'm feeling real insulted here. What's going on?
Yeah. I think they're defending me, but I feel insulted right now.
As you should be.
Though there is actually one particular line at the end of that whole like ordeal. The whole thing was like supposed to be like the big centerpiece was bullying of Maria Campbell, and in the Otome game, obviously Maria's physically there to denounce Katarina and confirm that she's been bullied. But as Maria's saying, don't spread terrible lies about the most important person to me. At the end of that, she mentions, I could point out the people who have actually bullied me, at which point the people who are accusing Katarina all run out of the cafeteria at full speed.
Which, if it wasn't revealed like a chapter later what was going on here, I'd be like, this is the stupidest plan I've ever heard of. This is Katarina brain level plan. But
as it turns
Gerald,
out, it was evil mind control the whole time.
Yeah, because my main man Gerald grabbed the list of accusations going like, all of those girls are too dumb to write this. This is really good penmanship.
Like sure, they're not as dumb as Katarina, but
this is a very high level effort.
Gerald's looking into it because it's weird. After the incident, audience sees that Maria notices something, but no one else notices it. And Maria's like, hey guys, I'm going to go check something out. Go back to class. I'll see you. I'll be in class on time and all that stuff. And she goes to leave, and Katarina wants to go with her to whatever it is that she's noticing. For all the simping I've done for the anime since, this simping hour, I guess. One thing that I will say that the anime does very wrong is it's very poorly phrased where they say, we never saw Maria again. That's objectively not true. Maria goes off to find something, and she's gone for 2 days after that. And that's very much not like her. That is when Gerald, he found the evidence used against Katarina suspicious, and then Maria's disappearance, and he looks into it, and being that he's has a strong claim to the throne, he's royalty, he's a prince, he has access to a lot of knowledge that, what ordinary people or even nobles wouldn't necessarily have. He looks up dark magic, which has the ability to control people's minds.
Which is great, because his explanation of dark magic is very simple. It's like, yes, it's a type of magic that can be used to influence people's minds and actions, and it can take control of them. Katarina goes, what? I don't understand. It's dark magic. It can be used to influence people's minds and actions. I don't understand.
I'm pretty sure the dark magic concept exists in Katarina's, main character's world. Like, it shouldn't have to be explained again in this Otome world. It's similar.
It wasn't in the Otome game, but I'm like, it kind of was, because we get a scene later with, you just weren't listening to Ah-chan explain things to you.
She didn't want spoilers, man.
She didn't want spoilers, but also the fact that we need to consider she avoided the conviction. It's possible And it's actually revealed that this route would not have been revealed because she's never played past the conviction.
Mm.
So this would be something she's never encountered before. She tried to cut off Ah-chan's spoilers. Like, she's like, I haven't played it, I want to play it, kind of thing.
I don't think it was as repetitious in the anime when they revealed that, because one thing that I did notice when I was reading the manga is the end of a chapter is when Gerald explains dark magic, and then the beginning of the next chapter is him explaining it again, but they frame it like Katarina asked what you're talking about. And it's like, to some extent, I feel like it's because of like the chapter break that it was done that way. But then later she asks again, and it didn't feel that way in the anime. I don't know. Because I don't want to keep saying like the manga ruined everything, but like,
yeah, Jake, I can't really comment on what happened in the anime. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, we only read the manga.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But anyway, we get dark magic introduced, and Katarina is just like, who could this possibly be? Oh wait, I remember. Ah-chan spoiled the game for me. And the amount she spoiled the game seems to increase like memory by memory.
But I mean, good on Katarina for blocking it out, because she genuinely wanted the genuine experience. She's like, I want to play through and experience it myself. I'm not going to be like, well, I already know how it ends, so I'm going to stop.
But basically, we get her remembering, oh yeah, wait, the dark magic guy. Maybe something like that was mentioned. Oh well, I'm gonna forget about it. Hey, I'm gonna go for a walk by myself, everyone. Chill out. And then she goes, sits in the park that Maria always sat in, and here comes cute club president, and she's just like...
It wasn't that she went on a walk by herself. She
sleep because she was so worried about Mary and the idea that she could potentially be sacrificed, because dark magic is associated with human sacrifice. She couldn't sleep because she kept having nightmares of all of her friends dying. So she passes out on her feet and that's why she's alone. She's sent to the nurse's office.
Yeah, and then when she wakes up, the nurse is like, you could probably get to your next class if you hurry. And Katarina's like, okay, and passes by the spot where, Maria was always sitting. So for nostalgia's sake, and also because she's stupid, she goes and sits down there. And hey, club president, what's going on?
I know I mentioned earlier, you look a main character. Your character design is very notable compared to everyone else.
You've got those nice gray eyes and the red hair. And I just got to say, Katarina's sitting there contemplating the dark magic and all this crap. And then, you turn the page and it's immediately just in an instant villain angle shot. It's the student club president, or it's the student council president. And I heard in my head, Dorime.
And I just love it because her immediate reaction is, well, I got to track down who's the dark magic person. Well, here's a person in front of me. Better start.
Question him immediately.
I got 100 students to go through. Might as well start with number 1. Hey, are you a dark mage? What dark magic? Who's ever heard of that? Next page. How did you know my secret?
You don't understand how dumb she is.
And it's great because then he's just like, go to sleep forever. And she's like, maybe he is a dark mage.
Well, no.
Here's the thing, though, because remember those a couple of times I've mentioned I'm going to say something extreme and put a pin in a couple of things. This is the point that I think is really important to understanding Katarina's character, because as dumb and oblivious as she is, but she instantly understands that he is suffering and that he's doing this because he's in a bad place emotionally. Katarina is dumb. I don't think that she's stupid.
She's a really good empath.
She has low intelligence, high wisdom.
I wouldn't call her a good empath. She makes a lot of dumb emotional decisions too.
She does. But the thing is, when she applies herself, she's talented. She works that farm and it's a good farm. She produces good produce. That takes a level of intelligence and dedication. She chooses to apply herself to that, and she got good at it. When it comes to the sword fighting, she chose to apply herself to it. She got good at it. When it comes to throwing the stupid snake, she got good at it. When it comes to her magic,
Okay, let's establish what does getting good at throwing a snake mean here. Like,
And
here's
she
a
really is
thought.
only doing it to be mean to him. I mean, I wouldn't try to find what your deep, darkest fears are and then constantly like throw them in your face. That's
point
not.
being, when she applies herself to something, she shows real talent. And when something serious is happening, when someone is in imminent peril, because Maria could be dead for all they know, she stops being an oblivious idiot and she's able to understand what's going on with the person in front of her who's threatening her. He's not just evil, he's in pain.
Yeah, even if she doesn't know the specifics, she knows that he's lashing out.
Mhm.
And he did not expect that level of understanding from somebody. And when you're so deep in your own bullshit, he much like with Alan earlier, he's like, no, this is clearly some sort of game. You're just this vapid fool who is going around pretending to be the savior. So
well, she's that, but she's also this. She's also very
Yeah.
nice.
Yes. And that's when he casts the go to sleep forever spell on her. And the last thing she notices as she falls into a coma is him crying uncontrollably.
Because she was exactly right. And as far as I understand the character, I think at some level Katarina is actually aware of everything that's going on with her friends. She's just willingly ignorant of it. It's not like I'm consciously ignoring it, but a subconscious part of her is sort of aware and trying to deflect things. Because another thing that's important
at all.
Another thing that's important is during the oh no, this isn't during the confession scene, this is during the final confrontation. She mentions, I'm the villainess, I'm not that smart, I'm not pretty. Like, she goes on a internal self-loathing tirade. The thing is, in her previous life, which we get into when she's in a coma,
when we go to isekaiception.
Isekaiception.
In another world, in another world, in another world.
We learn, we instead of like cutting around, her life before she became Katarina Clays, we see a day in her normal life, and she was a nobody and she saw herself as a nobody. And now, she's been reincarnated as a villain. She doesn't see herself as worthy of people's love. She almost says that in her little speech at the end about how I'm not like these people who are behind me, but they're willing to help me anyway. Like, I'm not worth it. And to me, again, when she's able to so easily read someone when she can't afford to be dumb and oblivious, I think a part of her does really know what's going on in the background. But like, she knows that in an alternate timeline, Maria could marry any of the dudes. In an alternate timeline, Alan and Mary get together. Things like that. She doesn't want to steal her friends from each other. So she lets herself not notice it.
I mean, but we see her subconscious. We get a really detailed internal monologue. I'm willing to give you the bet that she's got a lot of self-image issues, because she immediately says, I look like some kind of evil villainess, but then we're never really let on that is a thing that's inherent about how she looks. Although she does say that Katarina's body's way more pretty than she ever was in.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we see her. That's objectively true, because she's drawn to be very plain.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to the isekai and the isekai.
Yeah, before she reincarnated in the genre entirely centered around pretty people doing pretty things, she was, an average person.
And the lead up into it is really cool, because we find out that it was under different circumstances, but she's not the only one isekai'd.
Yeah.
So
learned-
Sophia loved her across 2 lifetimes.
I was not very clear on that.
Maybe not romantically the first time, but she loved her across 2 lifetimes, and that's adorable, and I love it. I gotta say, the chapter where they're all talking about why they care about her so much, that got to me.
It got me too. I really like that one.
I choked up at that.
We're sitting here having this mope fest, and then, oh yeah, by the way, Sophia is Achan's reincarnation.
Is that what that was? I was a little confused on what the relationship there was, because I got that she was Achan, but
I don't know if she's supposed to be a legitimate reincarnation, because we don't know if Achan died.
I hate to say it again, but if you want the full story, the anime explains it better. And I'll leave it at that.
Didn't
I
want
mentioned
to.
it
This is a
before.
manga podcast.
And yeah, I'll leave it at that. But it's very.
But yeah. So I think it is pretty clear that Sophia is supposed to be Achan's reincarnation, because she very clearly thinks, I'm not losing you again, and that's when we get that image. That's when we get that image of Sophia and Achan back to back.
The thing is, where I got interpreted that scene was, I thought Sophia was like somehow through magic being placed inside her memories, like, because Achan, when she's talking to I guess we don't have main character's name, Katarina, when she's talking, at some point it kind of switches over to Sophia's personality, and she's like, yeah, I really don't know what this world is, but you should wake up, because we're all waiting for you back in the other place, was how I was interpreting it.
I mean, yes, that is like what happened, but Achan also said in the memory, I'm glad we get to spend time together again. And
that's when she switches to Sophia. My interpretation of that is, if you remember all the way back to the beginning, when Katarina got her memories of her previous life, she had smashed her head on a rock on a stone path, and that jarred her previous lives memories back into her head. Whereas with Sophia, it's more like Achan is like within her, a part of her, but has never really come fully to the surface the same way that Katarina's previous life had for her.
Yeah, and it was in the moment of crisis when she was at risk of losing her friend again that Achan's spirit temporarily came to the surface, but then retreated back to wherever the soul
somewhere in
is.
in Sophia's subconscious.
Fair, but I guess I'll also bring this up here. So a bit when Gerald was talking about dark magic, he mentioned something about it deals with memories and it deals with people's souls. And we action image from Katarina, wait, what do you mean people's memories in different bodies? But then it's immediately played off. She's like, yeah, dark magic's scary. But are we gonna read into the fact that how she got isekai'd into this world is almost certainly someone doing dark magic?
They never really address the fact that the actual Katarina Clays, the one born into that world, is conspicuously missing.
Yeah.
Also dead and filled with the soul of this otaku.
I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of the fridge horror in that one.
I thought they were going to address it, because Gerald brings it up point blank.
They really don't, which I was a little disappointed by. We do see something
over yet, but
it probably won't come up.
It probably won't address it.
We do see a bit more about how the whole soul transfer thing works, because that's basically the whole premise behind the student council president being Villainess, because through a long backstory, it's revealed that he is a bastard son, and the actual legitimate heir to the Marquis that he is
posing as.
Yeah. The actual legitimate heir was very sickly, and so the Marquis's wife, in a fit of extreme a combination of jealousy and super overprotectiveness, decided, all right, so this little bastard here, clearly doesn't deserve to live. My precious child does, because he's the legitimate heir. So I'm going to have one of my mooks perform the ritual to learn dark magic and just transfer my son's soul into this bastard.
By casually murdering his mother in front of him.
Well, she's nothing. You don't understand. Obviously, she's just a harlot. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's not fair that he gets a healthy body while my son has to die.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, you're right. That isn't fair. But
I mean, it's not.
You're right. That isn't fair. That doesn't justify everything else you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But who really should have been punished in all of this? The one who cheated.
Yeah, the Marquis. Marquis Deke kind of gets away scot-free from what we see.
He does.
But can I just point out for a second that the villain's name is Sirius Deke?
I know, right?
He's a serious dick.
yeah.
Well, his real name is Raphael.
No, there is a Sirius and there is a Raphael.
Yeah, can we point out how Katarina wakes up? She gets this backstory from him. I actually don't. There's a flashback. I'm not sure where the flashback is coming from.
The flashback is Raphael / Sirius explaining his own backstory. What Katarina
is that before or after Katarina cheat codes her way through the conflict?
That is before, because all Katarina knows going into the conflict is she knows the vague backstory, as was spoiled by Achan. She knows that the student council president's real name is Raphael. She doesn't understand the significance of that yet. But, she, as has been the through line this entire time, extends the hand of friendship to him. And it's later that Raphael explains his backstory in some more detail.
Dude, Achan is a terrible friend. Like, hey, I had to work real hard to find the secret that unlocks this ending, but his name was Raphael. If you tell him that, it just skips all the conflict. Oh, cool. and literally, the only conflict we have in this is resolved by Achan's ghost going, hey, cheat codes. And then Katarina going, cheat code? And then he's just like, you really see me as a person. And starts crying, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was good. It was great. I enjoyed it a lot. The thing that kind of swerved me was I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Member number 8 of the harem right here. But no, he kind of doesn't. He ends up being a facilitator.
He kind of exists on the border.
Yeah. He becomes like a facilitator for whatever outcome it is that Katarina wants. He's like, yeah, no, I'll just help you get the outcome that you're going for. You've helped me regain my my sense of self, and I am deeply appreciative of that. But I'll repay you by getting you the ending you want in this romance game. Of course, not in so many words, but
and it's all in subtext, which Katarina does not understand at all.
Yep. And then, for obvious reasons, Raphael is just like, yo, I'm going to drop out from school for a bit. Have fun at the graduation ceremony. Because apparently it's the end of the year already.
Yep. Okay, before we get to the graduation ceremony, can I just say, was anyone else kind of disappointed that the manga didn't have the balls to kill Maria? I have nothing against Maria, and I would have been sad if she died. Don't get me wrong. But I expected... especially because Katarina says, like, my greatest regret is not following her in that moment, because after that she disappeared. I thought she disappeared forever. I thought she was just going to be capital D dead.
I did not expect her to be dead because I knew this was an isekai harem and I didn't expect any actual conflict to ever happen.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but a man can hope. We can get some drama.
That would definitely be a more mature harem. And I feel like there is a market for that, absolutely, where there could be...
I believe there's a different word for that.
But yeah, no, we didn't get the sudden ReZero swerve in this one, so fine.
But yeah, we get to the graduation ceremony, which I misunderstood initially. I thought everyone was graduating. I'm like, wow, this was a really quick setup. But no. Yeah, but no. They clarify only this... Yeah, only the seniors are graduating, which is unfortunately Nicole. Nicolay? It's almost certainly Nicolay, isn't it?
No,
I've been saying Nicole.
Wow. It's probably
I
Nicole.
think they're trying for the German like Nicole, and then like
Nicole.
Nikolai, or like there's different. They're just trying to be generic, like European sounding. It's close enough, but I mean there are different ways of having you can have a male Nicole or Nikolai.
But basically, it's unfortunate because if
He's gonna be taken out of the running.
Nicole graduates, he's not going to get to interact with Katarina. Everyone else going to move up in the harem, but Sophia's not happy about that.
I know. She loves her brother.
Yeah.
And this is where we get Maria's backstory, which I think fits here equally as well. I disagree with Jake on this. I think after you've gotten the emotional investment of her disappearing, I think it's good payoff, especially with the pacing of the manga. I think it fits here equally as well as Fun Time Summer.
Okay, I can see that. I think the reason why I had such an issue with it is because it paints the mom really badly. But I see your point here.
I never felt really badly about the mother. I understand that she could have handled it better, but I mean, I can sympathize with her given the situation based on the information that's provided in this chapter about perhaps why she's behaving in such a way. I don't agree with how she's treating, Maria, but I can understand why.
When I established how I interpreted backstory with Maria in her scene, I just assumed the mother was being very protective and scared for her daughter because I assumed she was like hesitant. Like, why would you be friends with her? Like they were malignant in like their wants. So I really never got a bad attitude. In my interpretation reading this, I felt the backstory here was good because it felt like reward for getting through the like tense emotional situation of the arc. And then we get the fun scene of graduation with Nicole getting a very ugly bouquet of vegetables because Katarina thinks, why would you want flowers? Everyone gets those. Those are dumb. I'm different. Not like other girls.
Hashtag not like other girls.
Yes, indeed. I mean, it's a practical gift, but yeah, no, you're totally right.
She could have gotten him a perfectly acceptable flower bouquet and given him a basket of vegetables.
Also, it had in its initial display, it had stink lines because it's like onion grass and
I'm just saying she could have picked a better presentation. You could have presented it as a nice basket with a bow on it or something.
Well, don't they make like fruit?
They do, not like how she did it.
Yeah. because she is the dumbest puppy and she
just cannot.
She picked everything that looked like grass.
She's not socially intelligent. That's the recurring theme throughout this. She's not socially intelligent. She doesn't really pick up on social cues that well.
It's really driven home that she does not pick up on social cues here because we get into her freaking out over, wait, no, this is the end of the game. Who's Maria gonna pick? She's got so many options. Who could she possibly want to be with?
Maybe the one she's like told you repeatedly.
As Maria is clinging to her arm the entire graduation ceremony.
But who, guys? Who?
Is she supposed to sneak off with her beloved at the graduation ceremony? Katarina does not pick up on this and proceeds to go, I guess she got the friendship end. Proceeding, Katarina friend zones everybody. Constantly. Happy end for me. I don't die in the friendship end. And then
yes,
we get technically correct.
And we get a nice panel that I'm not sure where they establish this is happening, other than it's of a magazine and the end screen of the game, which I think even says like it's the end screen they just happened, which has an implication I don't think the light novel, the manga, or the anime are about.
Yeah, that I think is more of a meta thing because like it's like Fortune Lovers getting a sequel. I feel like that's probably more like the story is going to continue past this point and not so much that like what was happening.
Her universe ends.
Screen.
Yeah, she lost the Tournament of Power and their
universe got destroyed. Oh god, we've got to get the Super Dragon Balls now. Oh, and I should maybe clarify that ending point of the graduation, that's where the anime cuts off. The last scene is like the credits playing over that, which is very
it doesn't even get in Fortune Lovers gets a sequel?
No, that's not in the anime either. It's just the satisfaction of like it's like they're all like having a happy moment, and then the credits start playing and it shows them going to the next semester. And she says, this is my, from now on, I'm going to live my own life as me and not worry about destruction flags, which she then proceeds
Clearly
to
is not true.
absolutely not do.
Not do, yeah.
Because we get to go to the next arc, which is the school festival arc. And
because you have to have a school festival at some point.
Uh-huh. It's so
and
much
it's like,
bait.
hey, why didn't we have a school festival last year? Why didn't we have a school festival
once
last
every
year?
2 years, conveniently.
Which, in all fairness, that seems like a very Otome game plot of like, hey, why didn't we establish this in the previous year? We didn't think of it. Oh, cool.
Yep.
Which is ridiculous because obviously they're not familiar with the formula. You gotta have the school festival, man.
I was gonna say, isn't that always in the Otome game?
More or less.
Can we go into how Katarina is like, school festival? Great, I'm gonna get yakisoba. I'm gonna get takoyaki. I'm gonna get okonomiyaki. And I'm like, honey,
you're not.
You're up. And she's like, well, I want to make a stand where I sell my vegetables. I'm like, why?
Yes, why?
This is a festival for nobles. No one's going to be buying produce there. Like, I don't...
It's not a farmer's market.
Well, that's why Maria tries to boost her confidence and says, hey, we can put your vegetables in my sweets. There we go.
I can only imagine Maria was like, yeah, I'll use your vegetables for my sweets. Oh, God, she made so many vegetables. What if I just make shortbread cookies? Do you think she'd notice? No, she's Katarina. Of course she wouldn't notice. I threw away the vegetables.
There's got to be at least one carrot cake in there, right?
I like the panel of Katarina and Maria giving Gerald the puppy eyes, and he can't say no to the waifus.
Both of them at the same time, just like, Gerald Sama, please.
Individual chapters are divided up into like 2-page scenes is what happens. It's really hard to describe because it's just harem bait. It's just cute interaction scenes, which are fun to read, but not really any substance. I think the only thing really memorable is Nicole comes back for the school play, which Sophia has an excellent line where she's just like, brother, no, you've got to go interact with her. I know this is considered cheating according to harem rules, but it's okay. You are graduating, so you're at a disadvantage. Oh, that's also what we get. We get all of the harem people bragging about their status, which leads up into Nicole going like, well, I guess I'll just pretend she can be in my play. And we get basically, they rehearse lines where Katarina is under the impression a play is happening, where Nicole is basically just grabbing her in his arms and saying, I have always loved you. I just want it to be you and me. And she faints from being too attracted to him.
Yeah. She swoons super hard because he's too gosh dang handsome. and
proceeds to not remember the confession.
No, she thinks he messed up the line because he says Katarina instead of, whatever name of the character she's supposed to be in this little rehearsal. And she's like, oh, wow, he did that so well. He's going to kill it in this play. Meanwhile, Sophia's in the background like, good job, Oni-chan, you did it.
And I think the play also comes up later, but that's just a scene with Maria that doesn't really matter. It's just an excuse to get villain Katarina.
It's not super clear, but I think it's a different play, question mark.
They really want her to act in the... Then we're so... There's... What I'm saying is it's nothing but harem bait, so it's really hard to keep track of what's going on, because this is just filler.
Because it is.
Though, one thing that I gotta say is we get villain Katarina, which is great, but like, she plays the character that she should have been. But we also get...
Those shoes look so good for your filthy dress.
Well, because she also forgot the freaking lines, so she had to ad-lib.
Of course she did.
She had to ad-lib the insult. And it was kind of lame, but at least Mary and Maria had the wherewithal to go along with it.
Oh, well. She didn't write it. It's stolen from the Otome game's dialogue.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, Villain Mary is also fun.
Because here's the thing, Mary is an antagonist, and we get to see her with her little villain face on, and you're reminded, oh wait, she's an enemy in the game. Which we also see with Gerald. Gerald also was an antagonist.
Yeah.
Well, he's a capture target.
But we saw the black-hearted prince for a minute.
Yeah. He is a significantly better person in this timeline, but he is still kind of a manipulator and
but in Katarina's benefit, he's a manipulator.
Yes.
I was about to say, he wants to be king. He needs to be a manipulator.
Yeah.
Yep. But now he's like, well, I've already have dibs, so
I'm the fiance.
So is he going to theoretically condone his future wife to have affairs all the time?
No, hold on. I remember my favorite part with Gerald is in this bit because she's going around with her little entourage.
Yeah.
Who is just a group of girls following her around that I don't know if they're ever introduced. It's
never clarified. It's never clarified.
They have neither names nor faces.
Anyway, what happens is they've been messing around. She's supposed to meet Gerald at the festival so they can hang out and have some time. But she gets distracted eating food because she's Katarina. And basically she meets Gerald and he looks over her entourage and goes, good. You were just hanging out with women. If it were men, I would have never allowed it. And it's just dark face and it scares away the three entourage girls. They just disappear. And she's like, he's so friendly.
They book. They book it out of there. They're like, nope.
I think where they go is the response, but she gets over it quickly because
Well, my favorite
she's
bit,
Katarina.
Because she's Katarina.
My favorite bit in all of this, in this entire like harem baiting school festival arc, is when she meets up with Keith and Mary. And she brought some food for them, and Keith is like, "You're not going to eat anymore, right?" Says, "I know you're late here because you were eating the food, right?"
Like, you're not going to eat more, are you?
Yeah, but she accidentally
think I'm a glutton. Too late.
But she goes to feed Keith half of the sandwich that he agreed to take. And
that's what siblings do, right? They just feed each other sandwiches.
And Mary just laser eyes lock on target. Ada. That's a strange thing to do between siblings, isn't it?
Which is fun because when I realized this went past what I knew, I'm like, oh, I get to see more character interactions. I was really curious of how Keith and Mary would interact because I think the only reason Keith is okay with Mary is because he doesn't realize she's as thirsty as Gerald is. And yet what we get from this interaction is that Mary is the one who's mad.
Oh, Mary is the thirstiest.
And it's just poor Keith getting bullied by Mary intentionally and unintentionally by Katarina as she keeps feeding into Mary.
Yeah, she keeps giving Mary ammo.
And the poor boy's just like, no, this is normal, right? And Mary's like, no, it's not. But it's much more acceptable for girls to touch and hug each other and then maybe get in the bath together. And
at which point Keith cuts her off.
And then Keith realized that there was a barrier. There was only so far he could go with his sister.
Oh, I love it. It's great. We did get a bit of plot because during the school festival, we were introduced because Gerald and Alan are the third and fourth princes, respectively. So where's 2 and 1? Oh, here they are. It's Joffrey and Ian. And they're extremely pretty Otome game universe fiancés as well, because that's the genre. Everyone is super hot.
I love Katarina's reaction to this, going like,
who are they?
Those look like main characters. Why don't I know? And Gerald just goes, you've met them several times at my birthday parties.
Yeah.
And Gerald is feeding her names throughout the entire conversation. Yep. She's like, thanks.
Because Gerald is the best.
Yes. And I'm like, okay, cool. perhaps future harem bait, whatever. And then one of the fiancés just freaking kidnaps Katerina. She chloroforms her.
Yeah. That was way darker than I was expecting. Because it's like the stuff with like the dark magic and Sirius wasn't that.
Let's murder a child to bring life to another child by transferring souls is darker than chloroform.
I don't know. I guess it's just
That's not even a joke. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's thematically darker.
But yeah, Katerina is late cleaning up after the play, and she's like, all right, I'll go meet everybody in the ballroom now. And some random girl offers to guide her because it's late out, and now it's dark. So here, I'll lead the way with a lantern. And they wander off school grounds because Katerina isn't paying enough attention to know what direction they're going in. Stranger danger as someone sneaks up behind her and puts a chloroform rag over her face, and she passes out. Only to wake up, and of course, everyone's like, oh crap, where's Katerina? She's late. She's never this late. Even if she got lost and wandered off somewhere because she's dumb, she would still be here by now. Katerina wakes up in a fancy bedroom, having had a great night's sleep, and then she's like, wait a minute, where the hell am I?
I just love this bit because she goes from, oh, I've been kidnapped, to full Stockholm syndrome in like 30 seconds.
It's great.
Yeah.
She's immediately like, well, I've been kidnapped. Better get comfortable. Give me some nice clothes and some food and a book. Well, I'm going to live here forever.
because the kidnapper, or at least the one holding her hostage, is one of the fiancés of the elder princes.
This is another case where Katerina shows her selective intelligence, I guess is a way to put it, because she's able to figure out, like,
she's been kidnapped.
She figures out that she's been kidnapped immediately. This is a serious situation, so she has to dedicate actual brain cells instead of the council of idiots. But then they're like, oh, we're so the fiance is like, oh, I'm so sorry we had to do this. We'll accommodate your every need. At which point the dumbest puppy, all you have to do is give her some food and something to play with, and then she's a puppy. She's happy with it. She's fine.
She's like, my friends are probably worried about me. I should get back home soon. But can I have more of this food? This is tasty. But for whatever reason, the hostage taker is not allowed to speak to Katerina about it, and some dude, I don't know if it's
pretty
her.
Clear. I don't know if it's the butler.
Oh yeah, he's the butler, and he's using.
He is, but it's kind of weird because Katerina even notes this, is like he's being very like authoritative and like he's in control of the situation, but she notices he's wearing servant's clothes. It's weird.
Well, we see with the visual cues in the manga that this guy is probably using some dark magic, because every time this poor girl wants to explain to Katerina what's going on, because she seems incredibly remorseful about this whole situation. The butler just leans in, puts a hand on her shoulder, and is like, you don't have to say that. And she immediately goes, I don't have to say that, with this blank look on her face.
And then leaves the room.
Yeah.
Though one of the things I like is Katerina, and again, in a moment of like, clear thought, Katerina intuits that you're not the one who came up with this plan. And as it's being presented to the audience, it really does seem like it wasn't her idea.
Even if she did do the planning itself, which she confesses to.
Well, she actually says that it was her idea. And I kind of like that because it shows that when Katerina's in not dumb mode, as rare as that is, it's not just straight author clairvoyance, that she actually correctly read the cues because she's been kidnapped. This is a serious situation. Oh, they're feeding me and treating me nice. I don't care anymore. Wait, she's acting weird. Something's wrong again. And like the moments where she's actually paying attention, it's not just that she's getting author clairvoyance. Like she's actually legitimately reading the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I love the bit when she comes to visit her in the middle of the night and just she wakes her up. And she's like, I was worried if you were gonna be upset, and she's like, that doesn't make any sense. I was sleeping.
The fiance is like, I was concerned you wouldn't be able to sleep because you're so stressed. And Katerina was having a nice deep sleep, not a care in the world. Whereas the one who's worried about sleep is the one who obviously, like, Katerina even notices, I'm pretty sure you're the one having that problem.
But anyway, that chapter basically ends with the reveal panel of Selena going, I was the one who planned this. Shock. And then the final chapter we read was amazing because it's nothing but the actual brain trust relating to the problem at hand. As the harem realizes the queen has been captured and they need to simp their way together to get a plan to get her back. Which is great because my man Gerald received a ransom note where he was told in order to get Katerina back, he has to renounce the throne. And he's just like, cool, if I can't have Katerina, being king means nothing. And it takes Mary, like Villainess Supreme, to go, well, they'd probably just kill her anyway. Yeah, and she's like, that's dumb. Don't give up the throne. That'd take some time.
We're gonna go kill some bitches.
They'd just kill her. So let's go kill him ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes. Mary just immediately goes to bloodlust. She's like, I'm going to find him and I'm going to crush him. she gets up, starts walking out of the room. Raphael happens to wander in.
They have to physically restrain her from attacking anyone and everyone she finds suspicious. She basically says, I'm going to go where I think she is and I'm going to beat people up until they tell me where she is. And like,
I appreciate that. She is a woman of action.
Yeah, she's great.
I love the character moment for her because like once they restrain her enough that she's not, actually going out to attack random people, it shows like how much of a spiral she's in. That's a really good character moment for her.
But that is where the manga ends, and that is as far as we can go then. So I think it's about time we started wrapping up. Let's go with favorite characters to start off with. So obviously, husbando and waifu choices. I've already stated mine. Alan is my favorite of the boys, just because he's hysterical. And Mary is 100% best girl because best character design, and she is a woman of action. She is the most complex of the female characters, in my opinion, and really interesting.
Of the boys, I really like Keith. I don't know, the beleaguered, all the crap that he goes through.
The put upon every man.
I feel for him. And boy, the girls is hard for me because I love all of them for completely different reasons. Katerina is so freaking charming. I adore her. I guess from the perspective of, if we're talking favorite characters, I would say Katerina, because she, she's an idiot, dense, harem isekai protagonist. And yet I really do think that she has layers to her. She is deeper than the surface level thoughts that is the Council of Idiots. And I kind of want to, it's not really a series built for serious situations, but I kind of want to see her, step up and be the hero a little bit more. Waifus, though, again, all four of them are amazing, but blonde Maria's definitely my pick on that front. Gentlemen prefer blondes.
All right, I'm pretty sure Jay's going to have the longest explanation and list of them all. So Matt, you next.
Okay. Yeah, for the boys, my man Gerald, he knows he's the best. He acts like he's the best, and he really doesn't have a lot of stake in the fight because he's got the long game on lock. Actually, we skipped over the bit in the festival arc where it's revealed that Katerina wants to join the Ministry of Magic because that would get her out of her engagement. It's not really gone any further beyond that because she immediately gets kidnapped, but I'm like, no, don't hurt my man like this.
And this idea is proposed to her by Maria, who just wants to be with her.
Yeah, who also doesn't want to get married, so the two of them can be ministers together. Despite the, I love the fact of being Minister of Magic. She's like, well, I'm terrible at magic. That's not a requirement. What? Yep. And for girls, I gotta go with Sophia. She's easily cutest. She's got the white hair going on, and just how much love she has for her brother, going like, no, I'm gonna help you win this. To the detriment of my own happiness, I'm gonna help you win. Because she's just there to be on team go Nicole. And I'm like, I can support that. Nicole has no chance against Gerald, but I support the effort.
And she loved Katarina across 2 lifetimes.
Aww.
That's well, you go ahead, Jay, with your
Yeah, Jay, go.
Expert opinion. I have to hand it to my man Keith. He's been with Katarina through thick and thin. Obviously stuck out with her, shielding her from her parents, mother mostly.
Her mom goes through so much.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's just like, I feel for the mother. Like, I mean, I just really do. But yeah, Keith would have to be for the boys. I feel, having to be raised with, and understand Katarina through and through. I feel like he's obviously the closest because he has this advantage over them, even with Jared. And the fact that, she, in a sense, saved him from being a playboy, lecherous person to being someone who's just a sweet puppy. And, so protective and so pure. And even though she's given him so many heart attacks, that what I would never.
His lifespan is shortened.
Yeah. And then for the girls, I would definitely have to agree with Sam and say that Mary is the most dynamic, and I would say flavorful character. Some of the girls had they all had their moments, but I feel as far as depth, Mary had more dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And honorable mentions, I would probably say Ah-chan.
And now, favorite matches. So the OTPs. It's a shame we're wrapping up because this could have been a
This could have been the whole thing.
It could have been, yes. Even though it does not include any of my chosen characters, I gotta say, I consistently find the unintentional 3-way, but very intentional love triangle of Sophia, Nicole, and Katarina to be my favorite.
Damn it, that was mine.
That's also mine. So I guess it couldn't have been the whole thing. We all agreed.
I'm slight variation on that. European aristocracy polyamory isn't that weird. So honestly, the harem ending is my choice. But if Katarina had to pick one, I would say Sophia, which kind of by default brings in Nicole because that's just the relationship that they have. So I guess, all of us agree on that.
2 for 1 deal.
And would you continue reading once it's finally updated to continue?
Yeah.
I think I would, solely to the end of this prisoner/kidnap plotline, and I might randomly come back to it in latter years for a chuckle, but I don't know if I'd follow it super dedicatedly.
This is definitely not something I could follow week by week because just nothing happens for long periods of time. This is a monthly series, actually, so it'd be month to month. Like, to wait an entire month to get a chapter where nothing really happens. I also don't really like I.
So for me, I'm definitely going to continue, but this is a series that you kind of have to binge. So I'm going to put it down until it finds the end of another plot arc and then binge it, but I would definitely not read it week to week because...
So, Jacob, this is another thing I want to bring up. You mentioned your favorite part was Katarina and you'd like a more serious take on it. I can't speak on that, but I know there is a spin-off manga of this. My life as a villainess, my next life as a villainess, all routes lead to doom. That the only difference is Katarina hits her head and regains her memories when she's 15, right before going to boarding school.
Oh. Yeah, she would have to actually step up more often then.
Because she'd actually have to deal with the plot of the game rather than having the plot of the game already be taken care of by the time she's there.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
I can't speak to its quality, but I know it exists.
Like, I'll put it this way. I want, and I'm going to have to look that up now because I want more of these characters in my life. I love all of them so much.
And Jay, do you intend to continue reading this?
I'm probably gonna let it rest for a while and pick it up once there's another chunk of episodes to pick up, because it is something that you really do need to binge.
All right, and that concludes this episode of the OverMangaCast. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment or review. It helps us out immensely. Follow us at OverMangaCast on Twitter to see what we are reading and memeing about every week. It is entirely just screen caps that we send to the group chat of certain panels going... Yeah, we already talked about it earlier. Matt posted the one of the pixelated snake.
Snake. Yep.
And
they also pixelate the snake multiple times. Like, after you know what it is, they'll still just pixelate it because it's funny.
Oh yeah, they know what they're about.
Great.
And yeah, Matt, go ahead. I know you're excited for next week's episode.
I am, because next week we are reading Chainsaw Man, chapters 1 through 22, and I am so excited for these guys to read it with me, because I do love me that manga. Mm-hmm. It's a shame we're only getting the first 22 chapters in, but I'm sure you guys are going to love it too. It is great.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, join us next week for that. Farewell, everybody.
Have a good night.
Yep. Later.